Welcome back to History's Weird Moments, where we're counting down the 10 most fearsome armies in history, but with a twist. Alongside the epic battles and tactics, we're diving into the strange and wild facts behind these military machines. Ready to have your mind blown by history? Let's get into it. Number 10. The Greek Phalanx. Walking walls of death, the Greek phalanx was no joke. A solid wall of spears and shields moving in perfect sync. But did you know that these guys were so tight in formation that if one soldier tripped, the whole front line could fall like dominoes? Talk about body odor. Imagine standing that close to your comrades during hours of battle. Soldiers were trained from a young age to stand shoulder to shoulder, with the front row stabbing enemies while those behind braced the line. Their strategy was simple. Be the wall, and the enemy breaks on you. Weird fact. In Sparta, boys started training at age 7 and were forced to go barefoot to toughen up their feet. Their endurance was insane, but it didn't stop them from whipping out a song or dance before battle, because nothing says, "We're going to destroy you," like a quick pre-battle dance party. Number 9. The Mongol Horde. Lightning on horseback. The Mongol Horde were the ultimate hit-and-run masters, and their horse archers could hit a bullseye at full gallop. These guys were so skilled that they didn't just aim for enemy soldiers. They'd target commanders from hundreds of meters away, demoralizing entire armies before the real fight even started. Weird fact. Genghis Khan's army was the original biological warfare unit. During a siege, they launched plague-infected corpses over the walls of Kaffa in modern Ukraine, spreading disease and panic. Talk about taking psychological warfare to a whole new level. Number 8. The Roman legions. Builders of empires. The Roman legions weren't just fearsome warriors. They were engineers with a taste for conquest. These guys could march into battle, crush the enemy, and then build a fort in a day. No wonder they ruled for centuries. With their infamous testudo formation, Roman soldiers could lock their shields together like a giant turtle shell, making them nearly impossible to break. Weird fact. Roman soldiers were paid in salt, which is where we get the phrase, "worth his salt." But don't think it was all business. Roman soldiers were known to gamble and bet on the outcome of their battles before heading into the fight. That's confidence. Number 7. The Ottoman Janissaries. Loyal to the death. The Ottoman Empire's Janissaries were kidnapped. Christian boys turned into elite warriors, fiercely loyal to the Sultan. They were brainwashed, converted to Islam, and trained in deadly precision from childhood, becoming one of the most feared fighting forces in the world. Weird fact. Despite their disciplined reputation, Janissaries were known to break into spontaneous music sessions during marches, playing drums and flutes to get hyped up before a fight. Think of it as the 15th century version of a pre-battle pump-up playlist. Number 6. The French Grande Armée. Napoleon's lightning rod. Napoleon's Grande Armée was built on speed, surprise, and the genius of their emperor. These soldiers could march 30 miles a day and still fight a battle at the end of it. Napoleon's tactics were so sharp that even his enemies studied his battle strategies for decades. Weird fact. Napoleon wasn't just a brilliant strategist, he had a flair for fashion too. His soldiers wore bright uniforms with bold colors, which stood out on the battlefield, but also made them giant walking targets. It didn't matter, though. Napoleon was all about style in war. The German Wehrmacht revolutionized warfare with blitzkrieg tactics, smashing through enemy defenses with lightning speed and combined arms, tanks, infantry, and planes working together. Their strategy was so effective that entire nations fell within weeks. Weird fact. Before their invasions, Wehrmacht officers would sometimes pose as tourists in the countries they planned to conquer, scouting out potential invasion routes and weak points. Imagine an officer on vacation, taking notes on the best places to bomb later. Talk about extreme sightseeing. The Persian Immortals were named for a reason. Whenever one fell in battle, another took his place, making it seem like they could never be defeated. Their loyalty to the Persian king was so intense that they were willing to die in droves just to protect him. Weird fact: the Immortals were fashion-forward warriors, wearing elaborate jewelry and carrying golden pomegranates on their spears. While other soldiers were covered in dirt and blood, these guys were the definition of battlefield bling. Because who says you can't fight and look good doing it? The Soviet Red Army was one of the largest and most brutal fighting forces ever seen. Their strategy during World War II was often simple but devastating. Overwhelm the enemy with sheer numbers. At its peak, the Red Army had over 34 million soldiers, a number so massive that they could lose entire armies and keep fighting. Weird fact: the Red Army had a special unit called the Women's Battalion of Death during World War I, made up entirely of female soldiers. These women were as tough as any man, and their nickname wasn't just for show. They were absolutely ruthless on the battlefield. The Redcoats helped build the largest empire the world has ever known. With their iconic red uniforms and disciplined firepower, they were feared across the globe. British soldiers were trained to fire 3 musket rounds a minute, a blistering rate at the time, making them terrifying in close-quarters combat. Weird fact: the red uniforms weren't just for style. They were designed to hide bloodstains so soldiers wouldn't panic at the sight of wounded comrades. Also, these guys had a rum ration to boost morale before battle. Fighting the British Empire. Prepare to face an army of soldiers buzzed on rum. At the top of our list is the Macedonian phalanx, the ultimate ancient army under the command of Alexander the Great. These guys marched with 16-foot-long spears, moving like a human buzzsaw through enemy lines. Their discipline was unparalleled, and they conquered half the known world with it. Weird fact: Alexander wasn't just a tactical genius. He was obsessed with his own image. He would often stage battles just to show off his prowess to his soldiers and allies. He even had artists and poets on the payroll to ensure his victories were immortalized in the most flattering way possible.